Welcome back to Hawkeyed with me, Dave O'Hara. And as you can see, I'm going to get right to it on the screen with me. It's a full screen. To my left, your viewer right, Tristan Wirfs, Super Bowl champion. Let's get that out of the way first. Former Iowa Hawkeye, former Mount Vernon Mustang, and current Tampa Bay Buccaneer and Super Bowl champion, and the guy that made it all happen at the bottom of the screen, our buddy Ike Boettger. Ike out of Cedar Falls High School, Cedar Falls Tiger, former Iowa Hawkeye, and now Buffalo Bill. So first and foremost, Ike, since you originated all this, and you're back for week 2 with me on video, liked it so much you came back. But secondly, thank you so much for joining us. But most importantly, thanks for being back yourself, but bringing Tristan with you. So how you doing, Ike?
Absolutely. I'm doing great, and thanks for having me, Dave.
My pleasure. Well, Tristan, you're here. Man, I'll tell you, there's so much to get to. And look at that smile. Super Bowl champion. Have you gotten used to that yet?
I mean, it's still kind of crazy. It don't feel real yet. You know, it's just been incredible.
Man, congratulations. Huge deal. State of Iowa, all of eastern Iowa, where you're from, Mount Vernon, Cedar Rapids area, all very proud of you. Ike came a game away from playing in the Super Bowl. What would have that been like, Ike? You and Tristan would have been on both on offensive sides of the ball, but man, look at Tristan laughing. What would that have been like, Ike?
I texted him the night before, and I'm like, let's get it done. Wirfs held up his end of the deal, but we just fell a little short. Hopefully next year.
Well, Tristan, before we get to Tom Brady, the Super Bowl, the championship, obviously we're here to talk with you first. Oh yeah, by the way, you play with a moderately famous quarterback, and you're protecting him, and you know, in his own right, Josh Allen doing a great job with the Bills and Ike Boettger. But before we get to that, I talked to Ike last week on radio, and you're going to be kind enough to join me on WMT. It aired last week, and WMT and KXIC, you and Ike are going to do the radio version. So viewers, please go to DaveO'HaraSports.com for all the past radio shows and videos that I've had with Ike, now Tristan, and TV and radio as well. But Tristan, Ike told me, he said, what a freak. That's all I've heard about you off the field when you're playing football. As Ike's smiling here, I said, tell me about Tristan Wirfs. He said, Dave, a freak. We all knew he was ready for the NFL when he walked on a campus at Iowa. Now tell me on the air what you said when I said that to you, Tristan.
I was like, well, I might have had a little baby fat on me when I walked on campus. But yeah, it's, you know, I kind of took me under his wing when I got on campus. But I think I was still a little bit of a little kid, you know, right when I got on campus.
So, Ike, you had a problem with your Achilles, as we talked about, in a senior year in that game against Iowa State, so game and a half in. But you got to beat your team, the Iowa Hawkeyes, beat your quarterback now, Josh Allen, when he was at Wyoming. But talk about that when Tristan, you guys were roommates when he came in as a freshman. You mentored this guy. You went through all the rigors of being an Iowa player. Talk about that for a little bit, and then Tristan, so be careful what you say here, Ike, because then Tristan's going to give me his version.
Yeah, so, I mean, I just love how Iowa always set that up in camp. I had great mentors when I was young. I roomed with Sheriff and CJ Fedoris my first 2 years. So, I mean, what greater guys to look up to. So I just learned so much from them, and, you know, tried to carry that on as I got older and was, you know, a starter and playing. But Wirfs was just such a great guy and an easy guy to talk to, fun, and just, you know, considered him a great friend from day one, which is not super common, freshman and a senior. Mm-hmm. But he was, you know, mature. He can say he's goofy, but he's still goofy. I'm still goofy. You know, we haven't really changed very much. So, has he grown up and matured? You know, as everybody does, yes. But just coming into college, he had a great mindset, and, you know, everything about him, I knew he was going to be successful if he just stayed at it, and he did. And I one quick story, I remember walking with his mom after a game when I was hurt. So I randomly just ran into her on the side of the road. And I just remember telling her, like, just stay on him because he'll go as far as he wants to go. And this was when I was, a senior. So he was a freshman. And I mean, I wasn't like a wizard predicting that. I mean, it was pretty obvious, but you know, he took advantage, and so proud and so happy for him.
Tristan, your thoughts?
It's funny because, like, I still have all these memories from my freshman year, like, or reported. So me and Ike were like, our lockers were next to each other, and he sent me a Twitter DM. And he just sent me a picture of our two lockers next to each other. And I tell you what, I freaked out. I was so excited. I showed my mom the picture, and it kind of from, like I said, he kind of took me under his wing. I remember, we were roommates in camp, and then at practice, like every day, I was just like watching what he did, trying to just like, just kind of emulate that. And I never forget like that Iowa State game when he went down. It was I was dressed, but I didn't play. But I remember watching it happen, and my stomach dropped to my feet. I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "I go in," because it was a close. I think it was a close game.
Yeah.
I was like, they're gonna put me in, and I'm gonna like lose us the game. But I was scared. But they ended up doing that. But even after that, like the whole rest of the year, like I was on the, he'd be on the sidelines at practice, and I'd come off, he'd be like, all right, what'd you see? He's like, well, what rush did they give you? Stuff like that. Just always kind of helped me out the whole time. And so it was just awesome.
All right, I got to ask you, Tristan, I've waited this long into the interview, and Ike and I talked about this last week on the air and off the air. You're prolific on video, jumping out of a pool, your weight room workouts with the team surrounding you, and you breaking records in the workout room. Talk about your experience. Ike and I talked last week a little bit about Chris Doyle, and obviously that has changed since Ike and I talked the week before, and he left Iowa with all that controversy. We're not going to get into that. That's another time for another show, and that's not to minimize what other guys went through. Ike became another person, grew into another person. You already came in, developed. Ike was a tight end quarterback or a tight end at Iowa, and they put 100 pounds on him. You were ready to rock and roll. What was your experience like? And then you said you still talk to Chris Doyle now, and what happened to him in Jacksonville? He took the job, then he resigned because of all the backlash. But don't want to get into that specifically, but talk about your experience when you said you still talk to Coach Doyle and Brian Ferentz and Kirk Ferentz. What was that like for you to be in that room with those guys?
Yeah, so I love Coach Doyle to death. And I didn't necessarily have like put on 100 pounds there. I kind of just like changed, he just completely changed me pretty much. Like body wise, like I said, I had like a bunch of baby fat on me still and everything. And then, I think if you look at pictures from like my freshman year and then to when I left my junior year, like he just completely changed everything, just developed me like crazy. And I was all for it. I have so many stories of Coach Doyle. There'd be days where we talk about the hang clean, so there'd be days where, it wouldn't be even a max out day. I'd just be hang cleaning, and he'd be like, we'd have three sets of 4 or whatever. I'd be done, and he'd be like, put, he'd be telling me to put another plate on. I'd be like, okay, do it. Like, all right, put a 20. All right. And all these guys were like halfway, 3/4 done with their lifts. And I'm still cleaning, he knew what I could do. Like I didn't know, but I think he wanted me to know. He'd be like, you could do it. And especially when I was like leading up to the breaking the record, he's like, he'd tell me to put something on, and I'd be like, okay, and I would do it. And it was funny. He always told me, he's like, do it as fast as you can, or try and do it as fast as you can. And it was weird. I have some videos of it on my phone, and I was like, looking back, I was like, how did I do that? But it's just, I had so much trust in him, and I knew he wasn't going to steer me wrong or, do anything to get me hurt. Because he knew, he knows what he's doing. But it's just, it's awesome. I love Coach Doyle, and I kind of owe, all this, he put all this on. But yeah, I love him.
Well, I appreciate your candor in that, and we wish him the best, and it's great to hear you guys talk about your experience at Iowa in that way. Wasn't for everybody, but it was for you, and I greatly appreciate that. So let's do this. Ike, you and I talked about this last week, so Tristan, we're putting you on the chopping block again. So not only are you a rookie going into the NFL, okay, so the draft day didn't go as particularly planned, but then boom, all of a sudden you're at the Buccaneers. You're there. Oh, by the way, Tom Brady's there. Yes, Josh Allen's a great quarterback, young quarterback for the Bills, not taking anything away from him, but this is Tom Blanken Brady. So he shows up. So I got to know, Tristan, your numbers are prolific in offensive, and Ike tweeted this out, your buddy, the other day. You had 499 snaps in the NFL this year. Would you have 1 sack and 1 holding penalty? Am I right on that, Ike? Was that the numbers that you put out for Tristan?
It was more than that, but yeah. I don't remember the exact numbers, but.
And you graded out as high as anybody else in the Super Bowl, with almost 92% at your position, 91.7. So obviously the pressure didn't get to you. As an offensive lineman, Ike talked about it last week. The only time you get your name mentioned besides being on this show is if you give up a sack or get caught for holding. Did you have any pressure at all with hey, that's Tom Brady. If you give up a sack, he ends his career. It's Tristan Wirfs behind that caused that. What are your thoughts on that?
I tell you what, damn near every snap, that's what I was thinking, Because I remember, so the phone call, I remember getting the phone call on draft night, and BA said, he's like, hey, baby, he's like, you ready to protect Tom?
You got to love Bruce Arians, by the way. Yeah.
He's like, you ready to protect Tom Brady? And I was like, I don't know if I am right now, but I was like, I'll get there, I'll get there. But yeah, Tom Brady, he's probably the best quarterback to ever play the game. So I was like, and I love Tom, but he's 43, and I was like, I don't want to get him hit. So I just did everything I could to keep his jersey clean on Sundays. But it's like, I think I put a lot more pressure on myself than anyone else, I put more pressure on myself personally than I think other people were putting pressure on me. Just because I didn't want to come in and not live up to expectations or anything like that. I was just trying to go out there and keep Tom safe. That was pretty much my whole mindset going into the game.
And who could blame you? And I got to ask you, Ike, because you and I are just laughing. We're just going, rolling our eyes going, man. But I do have to say this. We got just a few minutes left with you two. And now that I got you on camera and I can hold your feet to the fire on this, is there any way I can have you guys back again in the next week or two? Because we've already chewed up a segment. I'm going a little extra. Is that okay for both of you at some point in time in the near future, Tristan, Ike?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
awesome.
Next week, but we'll get it in.
Good, because I'll have Jeff Horner take it out on you guys. You all were little kids when Jeff was playing basketball at Iowa, so you're taking him and Jess Settle's time away, and they're bigger than me, so I'll leave it up to them to straighten it out with YouTube. I think you'll be fine. But Tristan, you mentioned BA as Bruce Arians, your head coach, and a guy like Brady. So as we close out here, I'm going to talk to you first, Ike, about what it's like being around a leader like Josh Allen, and then Tristan, I want to hear your thoughts on Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski. Obviously he won Super Bowls. Nobody like Brady. 10 appearances in Super Bowls of his 21 years. 7 wins as a Super Bowl champion. 5 as an MVP. By the way, I got to repeat it. Congratulations, you're a Super Bowl champion, Tristan. But what's that like for you, being with Josh Allen, Ike, a young guy on the rise, hoping to be Tom Brady? What does he bring to your huddle and your practice facility and locker room, Josh Allen?
I think so many similarities to what you see from Tom, just in a younger shell. He's got a lot more physical tools than maybe Brady has, and then his mental growth just through the 3 years I've been with him has been incredible. So, he looks at a guy like Tom Brady and sees how he mentally handles the game, and then he just, gains more of that every year as his physical. He's still got a long time with his physical body being great, but, he's probably 26, 27. That's, almost a teenager's life away from Tom Brady. So, I think all quarterbacks look up to a guy like Tom, and it's fun just talking to Josh about what he's learned his first, 3 years in the NFL and what he takes away from guys like that, watching a guy like Tom on tape.
All right, Tristan, what's Tom Terrific bring to the table? What do you glean from a leader like that?
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy just the way that he kind of controls practice. Everyone just, it's like he's a general, everyone just gravitates towards him and they listen, if he wants to do, sometimes you want to have a higher tempo in practice, get things moving faster. It's like, he'll say it and it happens like that. And I think the same thing, just being around him, in meetings or, he'll say something in meetings, to the wide receivers, a way he wants to have something run, or cause he's seen everything there is to see, for offenses. But then in games, it's like a flip, he switches because he's super cool to talk to, in the locker room, outside, off the field. Then, when he's on the field, he means business. Just he's super intense, super locked in. but it's just been awesome to be able to be in the huddle with him and kind of, I just try and be a sponge, and just absorb as much as I can.
Yeah, you don't say, hey, you might want to try this, Tom. Yeah, you kind of be led. Both of you just cracked up when I said that. Guys, I can't believe the time goes so quickly. I went extended time. I thank you both so much.
To have a strong finish, you need an excellent start. It's true on the track and also in the field. That's why Mershman Seeds works tirelessly to deliver cutting-edge technology year after year. Introducing Starting Line, Mershman Seeds' latest advancement in seed treatment, now providing added protection from white mold and sudden death syndrome all season. Ask for Starting Line seed treatment from Mershman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Jake Gervase, Super Bowl champion Jake Gervase, as they're both smiling and giggling. How could you not? Jake from Davenport area, Assumption High School, and then at University of Iowa, and now a special teams player, defensive back with a world champion, Jake. World champion Los Angeles Rams. Has that gotten old yet in the last month?
No, it's pretty cool to hear out loud still. I still don't know if it's set in, but yeah, definitely special to be a part of.
That is wonderful stuff. I heard about your Vegas trip, well, as much as I can say on the air, your post-Super Bowl celebration trip. That's cool stuff. But I want to tell you, about a month ago when Parker joined me on this show, and we were talking about you winning the Super Bowl, and to the reaction of your teammate and friend, it was almost as though Parker had won it. So I love the camaraderie between former Hawkeye greats. But Parker, talk about what you thought or what you were thinking when you saw Jake and his Rams win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, just like I said the last time I was on, Jake and I are we've been in similar situations throughout our NFL careers. A lot of times things are going great, you get signed, you're playing, we're texting each other, congratulating each other, and then sometimes things don't go so well. You get cut, you're stuck on the practice squad for what seems like forever. So everything that he's gone through, I can empathize with that, and then to see him kind of at the top of the mountain is pretty cool.
And Jake, I see you smiling. That's got to make you feel great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Being former Hawks and really good friends. We're always rooting each other on, and Parker could tell you we had some dark moments back in Iowa City where we were both unemployed, working out in his garage, waiting on a call from a team, and it's just crazy how some things seem to work out and find a way to work out one way or another. And, him making the active roster from the get-go this year, I know it was one of his goals and pretty special, and obviously carved out a role in Atlanta. So it's awesome staying in touch, and we've come a long ways, that's for sure.
What for you was so important that you took away from the University of Iowa and being a Hawkeye to the NFL?
Yeah, I would say, just being someone who's trustworthy. Obviously there are people who are freaks of nature, God-given ability, who can change the game, and they get paid that way. There's people that teams pay to win one-on-one matchups and make plays that win the game. I'm not one of those people, but fortunately there's a lot of jobs for people who aren't those people. So if you're not someone who's paid to make plays and win games, you have to be someone who's trustworthy, and I think that's something that the university here really instills in guys is just treat it like your job, because it is. Show up on time, do what's asked of you, and do it to the best of your abilities. And I think that's something that has helped me in my NFL career.
Living embodiment of that. And Jake, I'll ask you, I'm sure you have similar thoughts, but what would be your one main takeaway? If it's not the exact same as Parker's, what is your one main takeaway from being a Hawkeye into the NFL?
Yeah, two of the things the Rams have stressed in my three years of being there is accountability and coachability. You got to be able to own up to your mistakes and learn from them, and then you got to be able to be coached. And I think those are two things I learned in my 5 years at Iowa. And like Parker said, you just got to be able to be relied upon, go out there and do your job. 80% of the league is guys who are fighting for a roster each and every year. And then the top 20%, those are the guys that get the big money and the long contracts. But just being ready when your number is called upon, taking advantage of any opportunity, that's definitely something I took from my time at Iowa and try to keep with me going into the NFL.
Parker, what's one thing that none of us would know about Jake Gervase? And then, Jake, you also get another segment besides your turn. So whatever Parker says, just know you can really lay the wood to him when he's not with me here. Look at him smile. He gets the extra benefit. But something about Jake we wouldn't know, or that we can say on the air at least, Parker. You both got red in the face, by the way.
Well, you put him on the spot.
I know. I mean, I wish I could have had a little prep time for this.
Well, that's the key about being a Hawkeye. You got to perform under pressure. That's why I didn't give you prep time. All right, Jake, you seem ready to go. You go first, and then Parker, you can think about it for a minute.
I would just say simply, like, people may not know, like, Parker's just like an old soul. Like, he is like very, what's the word here? I always say this wrong. Philosophical, and
you got it right.
Like, he's deeper than comes off for being like a captain on the Iowa football team and the Iron Hawk our senior year in the weight room. Like, he's like a deep old soul once you get to know him.
Well, okay, so he took it easy on you. It was very complimentary. So now you know what your direction. And by the way, Jake, I say that to my production partner, Rob Miller, all the time. I always, hey, it's a running joke now. Every time I talk to Parker or text with him, I always say to Rob, have I told you that what a nice guy Parker Hesse is? And all you guys fall in line with that. But you're right, Parker, and I've heard that from many Hawkeye reporters and writers in the pool, reporting pool that have said that about you as well. So Jake took it easy on you. So you decide if you want to pile some dirt on Jake or just be kind.
No, I'll be kind. He, whenever we do, so like we're working out, you know, like we're doing upper body stuff. He's in my head when we do max like upper body press movements. So if it's any type of like max effort, whether I go first or he goes first, he always beats me by like 1 or 2. And like he'll go first and like he does 15 reps, he'll be like, you won't do 16, and I'll always get 14. And I can never find the strength in me to beat him if he just gets in my head like that.
It's true. That's why he calls me Papa sometimes.
I don't call him Papa, but he does beat me.
Look at the joy in his face that he even gave the one finger like, yeah, I got you. But all right, so that's very good. So see, that's why it was impromptu. You guys perform under pressure as Hawkeyes. I couldn't give you any prep time. That was, an organic answer. But
Who do you trust to produce the best yield? A seed company that's chasing technology or a seed company that's writing a book on it? Mershman Seeds is a leader in technology. We're independent and family owned. Our sister company, MS Technologies, provides access to world-class traits and genetics. And our starting line seed treatment is second to none. Who can you trust with your yields? Mershman Seeds, your friend in the field.
your wife, Haley, was a basketball player, was a Bluters bunch. Now, she played in the same time frame as Claire Till, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so you and obviously George Kittle, Claire's wife, or Claire's husband, Claire is his wife, San Francisco 49er tight end, one of the best tight ends in football, former Hawkeye great, and you get to bump heads, and quite a rivalry now between you and the 49ers, between the Rams and the 49ers. Any smack talk between the wives from their days of playing basketball back as Bluters bunch?
No, not at all. They still friends. I think they talk every once in a while. Obviously, on game day, Haley's rooting for the Rams, Claire's rooting for the Niners. But like you said, they've had our number the last few years. We hadn't beat them. We were 0-6 against them my first 3 years in the NFL until the NFC Championship this year to go to the Super Bowl. So no smack talk, friendly competition between a couple former Hawks. Both football and basketball wise.
Good. That's good to hear. Okay, every friendly waters there. Now, I love what Parker Hesse said when I was trying to get your wife's maiden name correct. She was a basketball star, prep star in the Davenport area, Assumption, where you went to high school sweethearts. Her name was Haley Schnaden. And so Parker said, to remember it, Dave, Schnaden is her maiden name. So I got the last name right. So in a game of horse right now, even with your bum foot, you just had surgery post Super Bowl, who takes the game of horse, you or Haley?
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to give it to her. I'm not much of a basketball player. I tried it for 1 year and was very below average in high school. And she's got a nice little mid-range game. So if we're playing horse, she'll take the cake. If we're playing one-on-one, I'm going to play some bully ball and take the win there. But I'll give her in the game of the horse. Haley will take that one. All
right. So even if we use the smaller women's basketball and we called by women's rules, you're still going to dip that shoulder, aren't you, and lean into bully ball?
Yeah, I'm not going to foul. I'm going to play clean, but she's going to feel the physicality a little bit. But yeah, she was obviously a much better, more successful basketball player than I ever was. So
I don't think we realize just how busy you guys are.
Yeah, it's crazy. The season is obviously what it is, 17 weeks long, hopefully making the playoffs. But at the same time, even though I'm the only one playing football, Haley is sacrificing a lot to be with me and support with me. And she's a teacher. She loves teaching. It's what she does. In the last 2 years, she's taken a leave of absence from teaching so she could be with me, and we didn't have to do, long distance marriage during the season. So it's definitely tough. It's hard on our family and definitely hard on her, and she sacrifices a lot. But I wouldn't be able to do it without her and her support. And I think there's a lot of guys in the NFL that would say the same thing. You can't do it alone. You need friends, family, spouses to support you through the ups and the downs, the good times and the bad. So, like you said, it's a lot more than people kind of think from an outsider perspective on what it takes to be successful and to keep chasing your dreams.
So for the aforementioned guests, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. That's all from me. Thanks to all of you. And as always, thanks for staying tuned at the end of the program for these rolling credits to give our advertisers and sponsors the attention and credit they so richly deserve. And as always, to our aforementioned guests and to you, the viewers. That's all from us at Hawkeye. Thanks to all of you.